One day, since it was 105 degrees, I wanted to test if I could cook an egg on my driveway. After making sure no one was watching me, I cracked an egg and then let it sit. The concrete was extremely hot, but I still had no idea if this would even work. I tapped the egg like this, and it felt really cool. Then I waited by the dumpster, started playing with it like this, kind of broke the yolk. Then I got mad at a cloud blocking my sun, but kept on pushing through. Eventually, my phone overheated, though, so I had to put it in the fridge and get my freezer phone out. At this point, the egg had been on the concrete for quite a while, and it was starting to look like this. Bon appetit. Guys, I'm in this insane underground bunker, and check this out. And then we got a secret bathroom with a toilet, a sink, and a shower. And then when you want, you can just close it back up. And now I'm chilling in a hidden bunker bathroom. So one day I decided to go metal detecting near the woods and search for treasure. This was the first beep we got. We dug it up, sifted through the dirt, and found this. Yeah, it was just a random piece of metal. So then I headed for the woods to see if I could find something better. And after a little bit longer, we found this piece of metal. But not too long after that, we found this. I started digging and I hit something really hard and also really shiny. I dug around it a bunch more until I could get it out of the ground. We got it out of the ground and it was a locked safe. It was really crazy and still turned on, so I tried to enter the code but failed. So I just threw a rock at it, hoping to bust it open, then threw it in the pool. I wanted to try to drown it open. I had to rescue the safe though, because it went underwater. I got the safe back up on dry land and then attempted busting it open with rubber bands, which eventually worked way better in my head, so I just threw it at a tree, and then another tree. And well, another tree. But the safe still wasn't open, so I resorted to my slingshot, which busted it right open along with everything inside. And inside was the SpongeBob movies. So one day, to find out if there was really still watermelon trapped inside my giant rubber band ball, I made another rubber band ball with a watermelon. My goal was to cut it open after adding a bunch of bands to it and making it perfectly round, and then find out if there was watermelon inside. I made it into a ball like this, tested how bouncy it was, threw it in a pool, and apparently rubber band balls sink. So we got it out and then tried to cut it open with this, a sword, this saw, then these big lawn scissors, but nothing was working until I got this box knife. Don't try this at home, but eventually we got it all the way unraveled. And after making it completely to the center, I only saw tiny crumbs of watermelon. So one day I flew all the way out to California to try In-N-Out for the very first time. There is none of these where I live, and apparently people like them. The aesthetic was very nice. I looked at the menu and decided I wanted a burger, some fries, and a milkshake. I also got a drink, and it had these cool touchless thing. Here's my burger and fries. They looked really good. The milkshake was amazing. I then dipped my french fry into my shake and it was amazing. Now it was time for the burger and it was pretty good. In-N-Out, I'd say it lived up to the expectation. This is my giant 1,600 pound rubber band ball, and as many of you know, it started from, an exploding watermelon. And for over the last 2 years, it's continued on past what I ever thought it would. Weighing over 1,600 pounds, we're on our way to a world record. Well, kinda, we're still like 8,000 pounds away, but the point is, this ball's come a long way, and it's only the beginning. Just kidding, because we're gonna completely destroy it. Yeah, just kidding again. It's indestructible. But the next part is part 100, and we're adding 100 pounds of rubber band. So stay tuned. So one day I googled my net worth, and it turns out I was a multi-millionaire. I was so shocked and happy. I could finally really start to enjoy life with no boundaries. Money was no object for a guy like me. I even went to Starbucks.
Hey there, welcome to Starbucks.
And paid $7 for this pink drink. And I still had $29,399,993. So I had an idea. Buy some friends.
Yo, be my friend. Okay.
I was so excited that I took my new best friend to go buy this Tesla. It was a really nice car and he was so happy. Then I went to check my bank and I realized I wasn't a millionaire. So one day it was snowing outside and I decided I wanted to build a giant snowman and destroy it with my giant 100-pound rubber band ball. So I started with a snowball and it got bigger and bigger till eventually we had our base. We cleaned it up a little bit and then I rolled around another snowball until I had the midsection. Put it on, smoothed it out, and then put on the head. We smoothed out the rest and gave it arms and a chain and turned him into Drippy Steve the Snowman. Hey, icy. Then I filled up my super powerful water gun with hot tub water and blew a hole in his face. And then supercharged his nose off. And after that, I got out the giant rubber band ball, picked it up, and threw it at his head. And he was pretty wrecked. Here's me pretending I'm a snowman, and then the rubber band ball going past and being on him and throwing it at his back. But none of it worked, so I threw this thing at him and then jumped into him. But he was too solid. Let me know what else I should try. So one day it was snowing, and I decided to take my giant hamster ball and get in it. I wanted to see what it was like in the snow and how high I could jump in it from. I got in and rolled around a little bit, ran. Saw a cool tree, did a few more flips, and then pushed it onto the deck. And from there, I got in and ramped it off. And after that, I ran a little bit more and then got out to see if I could jump in it from different heights. And I missed that one, got that one. And then I positioned the ball even higher and missed, fell backwards, and missed again. So I ran back even further, and I still came kind of short. But on this last run, I got it. Let me know what else I should try. So one day someone commented and told me to make a boat out of plastic containers. So I made one out of these plastic bottles. I taped this seat on like this, and it was ready to float down the creek. I got on and I took off, and it was kind of hard to balance, and then I fell. But I got back up and continued on down the creek. The boat was kind of unstable, but I continued on as far as I could go. And when I made it to the big current, I was unbalanced and fell off. And then I lost track of the boat. It was floating down the creek, so I chased after it and hopped on. And then fell again. And also chased the oar down and finally headed back. Comment what else I should make a boat out of. So one day, after freezing a giant water balloon and it being hollow, people wanted me to do it bigger and better. And it was going to get colder, so I'm gonna. I let it fill up for even longer this time. And I was also going to let it sit for even longer. I zip tied it shut, and then let it sit and came back the next day to check it out. And I could stand on it. It was pretty frozen. We gave it another day and then came back out again. And the balloon had popped somehow, but the ice was still rock solid and I could stand on it, kinda. I ripped the balloon off, then pushed it over, and it did that. And I threw the ice, and it was really, really strong. It's pretty thick ice. So one day someone commented for me to drop my rubber band ball in a microwave, so I'm gonna do that. I'm also gonna crush this piece of furniture along with a few other things with this giant 100-pound rubber band ball. So I got in the ladder and threw it, and it did that. I then picked it up and plugged it in to test it would still turn on, and it did, but the doors broke. Next, I got this jug of water I just filled up with the hose, and it did that. Then this bouncy ball that was way louder in person. And last but not least was this piece of furniture I found in my attic, and it did that. Let me know what else I should crush with my rubber band ball. So one day I decided to build like a Nerf sniper tower up in this loft, make a cool little cardboard fort, cause why not? And after I was done with that, I decided to build one on the ground level that actually looked even better. And I spent a lot of time on it, you know, made this cardboard fort, added a tower until it looked like that, and it was across from this one. Then it was time for war. We loaded our guns, and then we were ready to face off. I had the tower with the Fortnite sniper, and I kept shooting and shooting. But I didn't end up having the best luck. And even fell, but check out that cool merch. So one day I got in my giant hamster ball to take it out in the snow and see how it did. And it made a little path, and then I got out to try to jump in it again and failed. So I then ran to this hill and tried to go over it, but failed on that too. So I pushed it over and put more air into it so I could do it better. And I tried again and failed, and then this time I just failed again. But then I went around and fell out in the snow like this. And then I got out and made a snowball. So one day I took my microwave to the streets to microwave grapes like I saw in a YouTube video, and it's supposed to make plasma. Don't try this at home, but I'm going to try it. You put a glass cup over and wait, and it did nothing at first, so I tried again with some more time, and it still did nothing. And after some more time, didn't do much, I decided to cut it like I saw in another YouTube video, and then put it in. And that didn't really do much but make it smoke a little bit more, so I did it again without the glass, and it did that, and then again with more time, it did that. And it only ever left a stain. Let me know how I should get sparks. So one day, my friend and I went out to this giant snow pile in the middle of a parking lot to build a giant igloo. We got to digging for a long time. He would dig out the hole and I would scrape it out with the big shovel like this. We repeated this process for quite some time until eventually it looked like this. We were starting to make our way in, and it was starting to look like an igloo. And our next goal was trying to make it taller so we could easily dig. And after a lot more time, we got it looking like this, but we still had more to go. It had been over an hour, and we were just throwing snow everywhere. Then we saw this truck drifting in the parking lot, and here's our progress so far. We accidentally put a hole in the roof. Here it is. But it's a pretty big igloo that you can even stand up in. But the sun was coming down, so we had to leave. Like if we should keep going. So one day someone commented telling me to put my giant hamster ball in the water, so I'm going to do that. But I pushed it through this fence and walked it out to the pond. But the fence had knocked a hole in it, so we had to repair it, and then I got in and got in the water. And I couldn't really move very well, and my biggest fear was going through the hole. I slipped a lot and also just laid down. And then I slipped some more and couldn't move for a while until I accidentally made my way over these branches. And I was trying to run the other way in fear of moving into them, but I couldn't. And eventually I did just float into shore and then got grabbed and got out. Like if I should jump off this bridge with it.
Hey, you're called 9. Can I ask you have available?
No, I'm not.
You have girlfriend?
No, yes.
She beautiful, huh?
Yes, very beautiful.
Who's that? Can I ask her name? You don't mind?
Moon.
Moon? Oh, did the lady join the show on the TikTok? She crazy, you know? Keep your life easy, okay?
Okay.
So I'm now to rubber band ball part 59 and it's almost at 500 pounds. So I got out another box of the 15-inch bands to see if I could get it there. And this was one of the most challenging rubber band ball videos because the bands were super tight and kept breaking, and it was also really hot. So we ended up having to take a day and come back to finish the pile. And while we were placing bands, we talked about how weird it was we were even making this. But it's also super cool. Just look at it here next to me. I measured it 30 inches high and like 98 inches around and then rolled it. And it almost took some stuff out. Then I tried to make a basket off of it but failed. Then it was time to see if it was 500 pounds, but it fell 3 pounds short. So then I just rolled it off, like if I should keep on adding bands. So one day someone commented for me to put rubber bands on an egg, and I thought it'd be interesting to test out to see if the bands would protect it from a drop. I started placing the bands on the egg and then switched to a different pile because their bands were better. I kept placing them, double twisting each band because they weren't big enough. It got to this, and then I finished off the pile, and it looked like this. Pretty bouncy. And it was ready for a drop test. I took it out to the cul-de-sac and dropped it from waist high. And yeah, it completely cracked. I didn't really expect that, to be honest. I picked it up, let it go, and then walked off sad, like if I should do something else. So one day I decided I'd build one of those Saran wrap tree houses that I keep seeing on TikTok. And I was going to build it in this half put together tree house, and I started by making the floor, and after the floor I was going to do the roof. It would also double as a hammock. I wrapped the Saran wrap around a bunch of times, and it kind of looked like a spider web. And then I got back up there and went around a bunch more to make sure it was strong enough. I then wrapped it around all the corners and started weaving it all the way in. And this first section was pretty strong, so I kept on going, making it even stronger and then branching out. And I kept on going and making a super strong middle section until eventually it looked like this. So one day I decided to fill my storm shelter up with ball pit balls, but first I had to clean it. I swept it up for a minute until it looked like this. It was a little bit better, and then I got the ball pit balls. And I dumped them all in, and it looked like this. So I went in and laid down. It was pretty cool. I threw the balls in the air, and then I started trying to make it into this little hole. I missed, and then got close, and then kept going until I got it. Then I threw it at that hole, chilled a bit, and jumped in. And here's what it looks like with the door shut, just an underground ball pit. Let me know what else I should do. So one day, people wanted me to fill this giant water balloon up and smash it with my over 1,300 pound rubber band ball. The problem is this ball is super hard to move. We barely got it outside. Stood on it like this, and then we began filling the water balloon up. It's supposed to be about 6 feet, but I'm not sure how big we'll be able to get it. We stopped it at a pretty decent size, and then tried to roll the rubber band ball to it. And the huge ball had to go up a slight incline, which made it really hard. We got it on the balloon, but it didn't even pop. It wasn't exactly easy to keep trying, so we just threw this little rubber band ball on it like this, and it wouldn't pop. Until eventually I just threw it like this, and then bam, all the water went everywhere. So one day someone commented for me to drive over my giant aluminum foil ball with a car, so I'm going to do it. I backed the car on up, pulled forward, and it didn't go over at first, so I backed up and did it again a little faster. Yeah, I did it pretty good, and it looks like a hay bale now. Then I twisted it the other way and ran over it with a back tire, and then backed up onto it. And the aluminum foil ball was fully supporting the weight of this car pretty well. Then the tire spun it off. And here it is now. Let me know what else I should try. So I'm to part 39 of this giant rubber band ball, and I can't find any other type of rubber bands except these ones to place on it. So let me know if you have any other options, but for now, I'm going to keep on placing these. And I placed the entire pile of color rubber bands until I was all out. And then I took the ball outside to mess around with it, and it was snowing, so I just laid on the ball and caught the snow. And I can't even lift it over my head anymore because it weighs like 110 pounds. And then here's me breaking a basketball goal with it. And here it is next to a basketball, and then me standing on it, and let me know if I should keep on doing this. One day I decided to take 2 gold chains, 1 fake, 1 kind of real, flex tape, a giant water balloon, and a giant rubber band ball back to the pawn shop.
Got doubled up in the chains. Yeah. I brought the rubber band ball in again. I just wanted you to see how big it is. I don't think we're going to come to an agreement on a price. Big. Wow.
And I started off with this.
With this giant water balloon. This is pretty special. It can hold a lot of water, and it's really big.
I asked him what he thought he could give me, and he said,
filled it up? Yeah.
He said he'd do 5, but I thought that was way too low, so then I got out.
Genuine flex tape from Phil Swift himself.
Work good?
Yeah.
Is that flex tape strong enough to lift that ball?
And I didn't know, so we decided to test it. We put it on the ball, he picked it up, and it didn't work. So then I got out the 2 chains.
Tell me what you think each one of them's worth.
He looked at him and said,
This one I think you stole off your curtains.
and then he went and did an acid test on the other one and said basically it was just gold plated, which is what I thought anyway, so I just kept it. And then I left. Full vid will be on my YouTube. So one day someone commented on my water gun TikTok saying if you fire the gun once, then hold it down and release, it releases a more powerful charged shot. So I'm about to find out. So first, here's a normal shot, still pretty powerful, and then me loading up a powerful one. I lined up the shot, and whoa, they were not lying. You just shoot twice, and bam, and then I decided to let my brother shoot me with it. He aimed in, shot the first 2 shots, and yeah, it kind of hurt, so don't try this at home, and let me know what else I should try. or do. So I'm in a rubber band ball part 66, and the ball is huge. Look at me behind it. You can't even see me. And I put it on the scale, and it weighs 630 pounds, but we're going to get it even bigger and keep on adding bands. And my friend Brennan and I began placing bands for a very long time. And a lot of people say it looks like an egg now and not a ball, but it's very hard to keep it round because it's so big. And we try our best. And after we finished with the pile, I messed around with it, tried to throw balls on it, and then dunked with it. And I compared it next to this tiny rubber band ball and my head, then fell off of it and took it back on the scale to weigh it in at 655 pounds. So, like if I should keep on going. So now to part 32 of this rubber band ball, and I'm probably never stopping, honestly. I bought another one of these packages, put it in a pile, and placed it. And then I got out all the colored rubber bands that are actually meant for garbage cans. And I placed that entire pile as well, and the ball now weighs 84 pounds. And I took it out to the street, and because my wrist is kind of hurt, I couldn't really pick it up, but here's it next to a basketball, and then we walked off together in the sunset, like if I should keep on going. So one day someone said I should try to go to the pawn shop again, so I'm going to take my rubber band ball, this chain, and some other stuff. I put the ball in my car, and then got my bling on, and then went inside the pawn shop and said,
"What's going on? I'm back. Got a few more things.
Hey, what you got today?
Bling on this
Wow,
time.
that's blingy.
First off, I got this tiny rubber band ball.
Is this an offspring of that one?
Sure, yeah.
Having babies? What's up with that?
Want to buy it?
I then told him I wanted $50 for it, and he said,
$50 for $5 worth of rubber bands? Better pass on that one.
so I then threw it and got out my genuine gold watch.
Gold watch.
And he didn't seem to think it was gold.
You got screwed.
Walmart, what a ripoff.
They do that to a lot of people.
Probably explains why it was like $10.
And after that, I got out my chain and said it was probably
This much
worth...
gold's probably worth about $30K.
He looked at me like I was crazy and then weighed it.
90 grams.
Is that a lot?
No.
Oh.
And he ended up passing on the chain, so I got out the rubber band ball. It was 80 pounds last time I brought it in, and now over 100.
You're a lot stronger than you look.
It would take a lot for me to let this thing go. What's your best offer?
You got $150 for it.
And I knew I couldn't do it. So I threw the ball down and headed out, knowing I'll probably never sell it. So one day someone commented telling me to fill this dome thing up with water, so I was going to do it. My plan was to fill this section up first, and then get in the other section, zip it up, and let it fill all the way until I was releasing it. But it started to leak through, which was ruining my plan. So I had to release early and let all the water out, and this is what it looked like. All the water did kind of rush in, and it made this cool little pool in the dome. It wasn't as much water as I wanted, but I still made the most of it, and then left. Let me know what else I should do. So one day I decided to take my giant 123-pound rubber band ball to the gym, and my friend tried overhead pressing it to start out, and he got it. So then I tried, and I just couldn't do it. And then we saw a scale and decided to weigh it, and it weighed 123. Then I tried benching it and about crushed myself. Then we convinced this other dude in there to try to overhead press it, and he also got it. Then my other friend tried and kind of got it. Then my friend who's 6'7" tried, put it on his knee first, and then also kind of got it. Then I tried again and didn't quite get it, but did a little bit better. Then my friend tried benching it and about crushed himself too, and then got one rep with some stability. And then we had the idea to put it on a treadmill. We put it on and it started rolling backwards. And we got it to just roll on there by itself, and it went all the way to the back and then came off. Then my friend golfed with it. Let me know what else I should do with this giant rubber band ball. So one day I decided to see if I could make foam board into a boat that would float me down the creek. This is going to be my first part to a series where I test if random objects or materials will make a boat. I had the boat made, and then I took it down to the creek, put it in the water, and got in. And at first I didn't think it was going very well. Then I put a hole in it and had to move it to deeper water. So then I tested it again and completely ruined the boat. Look at it. So then I ran off sad, but comment any other boat ideas you want me to make. So one day someone commented to try to sand my aluminum foil ball down and try to make it more round. So I got out a mallet to first shape it best I could, and it wasn't working very well. So then I decided to try a comment I saw putting it in the dryer to make it more round, and it sounded really loud and scary, so I took it out. Yeah, don't try that at home. And then I tried throwing the ball and even rolling it around, and when that failed, I got out the metal hammer, which does that to it, and I just focused my hitting in one spot to try to see how smooth I could get it, and it was pretty smooth compared to the other side. I tried my best to round out the rest of the ball, and then got out this sand, and it sanded pretty sort of smooth, and it looked decently round, but got my fingers dirty. And with a little bit more of the hammer, the ball is overall way more round. Like if I should make it even rounder with rubber bands. So one day I went out to the Walmart as seen on TV aisle to see if it all really worked as it does on TV. I browsed around and ended up getting these glasses, this dog brush thing, and some flex tape. And I'm even going to break a skateboard in half to test the flex tape, but I got it all, and it started with this glove thing. It is apparently supposed to remove this much hair from a dog. My dog doesn't shed that much, but I'm going to test it out on him. I brushed him for a minute with it, and at the end it looked like this, so not really. Then I got out these up-close glass things. I don't know, it's supposed to make things bigger. And I tested it on this print, and it made it bigger. And then I got outside and tested in the real world, and I felt like Logan Paul back with the color glasses, and it made this tree way bigger. It was amazing. I'd never never seen the real world this close. And then I got out the flex tape and broke this skateboard in half. I then tried to line it up back together and put the flex tape around it and wrapped it all the way around until the roll was empty. I pressed down on it, then tested it out, and it didn't really work. It was more like one of those train things. So I threw it and it landed right side up and still rolls. So one day I wanted to prank my friend by surprising him with a really bad new car. So I looked on Facebook Marketplace for the cheapest cars I could find that still ran, until eventually I found this one. The car had some damage and smelled pretty bad inside, but it still ran. So we started spray painting it to make it look even worse. I wrote my name, this line, and I just wanted to make the car look as funny as possible. My friend and I added these racing stripes, and then I put a car tree in it to make it smell good. And it was finished. It looked really good, and it was ready to give to him. I invited him to the warehouse the next day and told him I had a surprise. And showed him.
What is this? It's your new car, bro. I know you've been needing a car.
Well, my car's in the shop.
What in the heck? Does it even run? Thanks, then. Yeah, I know you've been needing a car.
He looked really confused and said,
What's really going on here, though? The AC kind of works.
I told him it was his car and let him take it for a test drive. And then...
This isn't actually like my car, is it? What, bro? Do you not like it?
And he didn't really act like he wanted the car, so my friend and I kind of got upset. After that, he spray painted it some more.
Costs about $250.
Then we did some joyriding, got on the roof, and hit the rubber band ball. So everyone wanted us to make the snow pile in the parking lot that we made into an igloo even bigger. So we went back the next day with our shovels to do just that, digging out the hole and scraping all the snow out. And while we were digging, we found whatever this is. And keep in mind, I do not recommend you try this at home or anywhere. I'm a trained pro, yo. Anyway, we kept on digging more and more snow out, which was taking a very, very long time. But it was kind of satisfying. And after quite some time, here was our progress. We still had a lot of snow to clear out, and we needed to make it more even. We shoveled out all that snow. And then my friend made a seat, and it was pretty cool. I sat on it. The igloo was starting to come together. We shoveled out some more snow until it was completely finished. And here's the inside. I laid down, poked the ceiling, and then started punching the roof in to destroy it. And then I completely destroyed the whole fort so no one would get hurt in it. And then did a front flip. And here's the aftermath. So one day my brother and his friend had an idea to take all the ball pit balls from my storm shelter and put them all in our friend Joe's office, who's an insurance agent. So we transported them all to the office, and we had to put them all in here. But first I spun around in the chair a little bit and then got to pouring, and we poured out all the ball pit balls, and it was completely covered. I set the GoPro up. We shut the lights off and left, and he was supposed to come back in the morning, but he actually ended up coming in at midnight. And here was his reaction.
What the hell is this? No way. You guys got one this time. Next time, it's not gonna happen.
He then messaged me, so I zoomed over there to get his reaction.
What were you doing back here?
What do you mean? I come back all the time.
Here it is, completely covered.
Dylan, you're still recording me?
So one day I bought like 1 million Orbeez to dump in this inflatable pool and get in. Because I've always seen people do this kind of stuff and always wanted to try it. So here it goes. I dumped all the Orbeez out into this pool, mixed it up, and here's an hour time lapse of it growing. And this is what they looked like at the end of the hour. Yeah, they still needed to get bigger, so I came back the next day and it was completely full. Look at it. I got in the pool and the Orbeez got huge. Look at this one. Then I decided to lay down in it, move around. I moved my legs around like this, made a bunch of waves, splashed my face with Orbeez, and jumped in them. Then I dropped this rubber band ball in them and it made a pretty big splash. Here's the slow-mo and here's another drop. Like if I should fill this pool up to the top. So one day someone commented to put rubber bands on a bottle of Coke with Mentos in it, so I got Coke, Mentos, and rubber bands. I then put 3 Mentos on a piece of tape and put it in the Diet Coke. I then set it down and started adding rubber bands until eventually one of the Mentos fell in the Diet Coke bottle. So I quickly picked it up, took it out to the street, and dropped it, and then picked it up, threw it once, and this was kind of fail, but the second throw was this. It was probably my best Diet Coke Mentos rocket. Maybe the rubber bands made it push up. I don't know. Then I picked it up, took a drink, and then got out another bottle of Diet Coke. It looked like a fail at first, but I dropped another Mento in, quickly tightened it, and threw it, and it did this. Yeah, it just launched over. Then I got this one that I dropped in, quickly tightened, and threw. And the second bounce did this. Comment anything else you want me to try. So this is rubber band ball part 38, and this ball is getting giant, and I'm going to keep going. Got a bunch more bands, and I tested out these new bands that didn't end up working. So I just ended up going back to these colored rubber bands, and the camera cut out, and I lost all that footage of me putting on. So here's me putting on the last one, and then taking it downstairs. And the ball now weighs 109 pounds. I took it outside, and it ran into a bush. And then I set it on top of this swing and started swinging it. And it was pretty cool, and I tried to knock it off, but couldn't. The most it did was that. And then I just got on it and kicked it off. And it's so heavy I can barely pick it up anymore. Let me know if you want me to keep going. So I'm now at a rubber band ball part 41, and my 25 pounds of rubber bands got here. So I took it upstairs along with my giant rubber band ball. I took it all to the room where I placed the bands, and then I threw that in a package and opened it up. And each bag weighed 5 pounds. I dumped them all out, and the bands were pretty good. So I dumped out 10 pounds of bands and got to placing. And it was a lot, so I had my brother help me with this one. And we were going for so long, my phone even cut out because it ran out of storage. But we finished eventually and then took it downstairs. I got it all the way down and then weighed it in at 123 pounds. I took it outside and just look at it next to a wheel and next to my head. And here's my best effort at trying to pick it up. I can barely do it anymore. Let me know what else I should do with this ball. One day I decided to hang a giant hamster ball from the ceiling of the warehouse and make it a swing with me in it. And also make an actual swing. But first I wanted to play with the ball. I shot a hoop, then I bounced on it like this, and then ran and jumped and almost fell. Then did a flip and another flip. And remember, don't try anything you see in this video at home. But first I wanted to make the swing. I tied it to the ceiling and it worked pretty well. We had a decent swing. And next was the hamster ball that I also tied to the ceiling and then hung on to make sure it would hold my weight. I got in, let myself get aired up, and when we removed the beanbag, I was hitting the floor. So I had to tie the hamster ball up even higher and then get in again. And this time we removed the table and it worked. I was floating. So I got a push and I was swinging in the hamster ball. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it even worked. I spun around for quite a while, then got a bigger push and did this, and then decided to flip over and do this. But yeah, it was a pretty neat experience, and when I got out, I almost got stuck and then fell. So one day someone commented on this video where I tried to replicate this video and said I had the timing all wrong. And they were right. This was my first attempt at it, and it didn't do anything but make a bunch of waves. So I went to Walmart and got a rounder floaty and then tried again. And this time I tried to make the timing. That first try was better. And then the second try I did this and really tried to time it up. And it was my best run yet. And I actually got the wave to knock me down. And I also used a bunch of slow-mo in this video because I accidentally shot it in slow-mo. You can even see on this next run then a wave hitting the ring of the pool and then me falling. And then on this next one I did it really good and went like that. And you know I had to use that slow-mo. Comment any other ideas you want me to try.
Cat or dog?
Dog. Song, where's the dog?
Oh, it's right there.
Song, that's a cat. I really want a puppy.
If everyone watching hits the plus button, I'll get you a puppy.
Please, guys.
Candy or cake?
Cake.
Fried chicken or barbecue?
Barbecue because I'm healthy.
Dancing or swimming?
Dancing.
Okay. Alright, Kat, what's your dance? Oh, guys, ready her dance?
So I'm now to part 40 of my giant rubber band ball, and I wanted to walk you guys through the entire process. I take it upstairs and into this room where I sit down and place rubber bands. I'm actually running out of the type of rubber bands I can place because these ones are just too tiny and break on me. And these ones are just getting old and I have to untangle them every single time. But no worries, I found this random custom rubber band site on the internet and called them up. Yo, I need your 15-inch rubber bands. I'm gonna place an order for like 25 pounds. And just like that, $200 worth of rubber bands was on the way. But for now, I'm gonna place these ones. I put them in a pile and then untied them all and got to placing them. And I placed the entire pile of colored rubber bands until I was all out. And after that, I took it downstairs, which was a struggle, but I got it. And I weighed the ball in at 113 pounds. I then took it to the street to try to pick it up. And I can get it up to here, but it's too heavy to get over my head. So I just laid on it, like if you want me to keep on adding bands. So after my last trip in my giant hamster ball, I threw it away because it was gross. And I actually ordered a new one that was bigger and better. It was really expensive, but it's massive. I blew it up all the way, and then I got in to test it out. And this one, you can just get in without airing it up while you're in. It was pretty big inside, and then I just ran and did a bunch of flips and stuff. And my last one, you'd get hurt if you fell, but this one has 2 layers, so it's cushioned. I ran out to the street and then just laid around for a second. And here's the inside perspective, me doing a flip. I tumbled one more time and then let my brother go for a spin. He went out pretty far and then got out. Comment any ideas for videos with this giant thing. So one day I decided to prank my brother Jack by filling his entire truck up with ball pit balls. And my brother likes his truck a lot, so I don't know how he'll react. And luckily I had already had these ball pit balls from previous videos, you know. And I just began dumping them in the truck and then shut the windows down to make sure they didn't spill out while I put them in. And eventually the truck was filled up, so I went to get him and get his reaction.
I did something to your truck. Go take a look in the window.
Why are your windows?
And at first, he just paused in silence looking at the truck. And then he opened the door.
What do you think?
You know how long it's gonna take to clean up? How am I gonna find my school supply? In the sea crevice.
Then he jumped in it, and then I jumped in it and threw a bunch of balls around.
Later, bruh.
And he took off. So it's now part 35 of my giant rubber band ball, and I decided to change up the scenery a little bit. I dumped out a whole box of rubber bands of different kinds. I started by dumping these colored garbage bag rubber bands into a pile and putting these gloves on so I don't hurt my fingers and putting all the rubber bands on, and this happened. Right into my eye socket. And it hurt, but I kept on going because the rubber band ball wasn't going to make itself. I finished off all these colored ones and then dumped out these purple ones that I ended up not using because they were kind of trash. I got out these ones instead and placed the entire pile. And I was done and exhausted. The ball is almost 100 pounds now, and it's a pretty big struggle to get downstairs. Took it out to the street and barely picked it up. Yeah, it's getting pretty hard to throw now, so I just sit on it and stand on it. Like if you want me to keep on going to 100. So one day someone commented for me to freeze an egg in a block of ice and then shoot it out of my giant slingshot. So I put it in a cup of water. I added tape over the top, then put it in a freezer, and the next day it was rock solid. I then ran it under some hot water and got it out of the cup, and it was ready to launch. The only problem was the egg was stuck in the corner, but I'll just aim for the other side. I put it in the slingshot, pulled back, and launched. And this shot was kind of bad, but it landed, and I ran to it, and pretty much nothing happened. So I put it back in the slingshot for round 2, and it hit this tree. Well, bam. I went out to it, and the egg looked fine at first, but that was only because it was frozen. The egg was actually cracked. So then I just threw it against a tree, and then found a bat and obliterated it. Sort of. The egg was still intact. So then I just ate it. So one day I wanted to freeze a giant 6-foot water balloon in the ice cold. But the hose was frozen, so I tried pouring hot water on it. And when that didn't work, I put it in the hot tub. That got it to thaw out, so I zip tied the water balloon on and started filling it up. Here it is from the window. I decided to stop it here because we didn't know if too much would make it not freeze. And I struggled to get it off, eventually got it tied, and then here was it at night, kind of frozen. And then the next morning it was solid. I could put my foot on it and even stand on it. So we decided to cut it open. And it was a lot thinner than I thought, so I just smashed it a bunch. Like if I should fill up a bigger one and let it sit for longer. So one day I went out to the gas station to make some random gas station drink because I saw someone else on TikTok do it. I got Mountain Dew and then got this random candy, some Lifesavers and some Crawlies and then a Bang. And it was all ready to be thrown together. I put the Lifesavers in, then the Crawlies and then this stuff. And then added the Bang and started stirring. And I took a drink and I couldn't quite tell what I thought. And it was pretty much sweet Bang, but I kept on drinking it and the flavor started to come out. And then I tried one of the pieces of candy in it and that was really gross. But I came back a few hours later to try the drink and it was even better. And then 24 hours later, it got all big and looked like this. So it's now rubber band ball part 56 and I bought a 1,000-pound scale to weigh it and it weighs in at 396 pounds, but we gotta get it to 1,000. So my friend and I began placing a giant pile of bands for what felt like an eternity, and it got dark and we kept on placing until we were completely out. And now we gotta weigh it, but first I wanted to test standing on it. So I ran on it like a barrel, then I did that, then stood on it, and then fell again. And here it is next to my head. Then I put it back on the scale and it weighed in at 422, then 428. So I don't know, but like if I should keep on adding bands. So this is rubber band ball part 55 and I dumped out another 25 pounds of rubber bands and started placing. And I actually have a new scale on the way. It can read all the way up to 1,000 pounds and I think the ball will be 400 pounds after I'm done with this pile, but we'll have to test it when the scale gets here. I launched some of these bands and then I compared the ball next to me and it's completely massive and there's no chance I can pick it up anymore. But it's way easier to stand on than ever before and I can even like flip off it. This ball is just completely crazy, so like if you want me to take it to 1,000 pounds. So one day I decided to go dumpster diving behind a phone store to see what I could find, and it was empty, so I drove out to a different phone store and it was locked. So I went out to Academy's dumpster and it looked promising, but someone was already there, so we left. And ended up going out to this different sports and outdoor stores and I looked through it and didn't find anything for a while until eventually I found a watch.
A watch?
And it didn't work, but it was still cool. And then I got in, kept looking, and went out to the side and found this speaker. And I don't know if it works. So one day I wanted to freeze a balloon out in the cold and put food coloring in it like I've seen before on TikTok because it looks really cool. So I put the balloon out there and let it sit. And then I tried to ripstick, but it wasn't really working. So I threw it and then tried to make a snowball, but it was just powder. And I came back the next day and checked on my balloon and tried to do that cool knife cut thing, and it just cut like this. And then all the water started draining out, so I stabbed it quickly, and the food coloring didn't really go in it. But I broke it. And then it disappeared in the snow. And then I tried to make a snow angel. Giant 140-pound rubber band ball to this hill to roll it down. And there's also a little jump at the bottom made of snow. I rolled it down and it just kept on going and going and then hit the jump. And here's a slow-mo replay. Wow. And then it zoomed off into the parking lot and just kept on going. It was going pretty fast, so I ran after it. And it went all the way into a soccer field. So I climbed over and look at the path it made. And it went all the way from there. So one day I rolled my rubber band ball back upstairs because I'm now at part, 42. It weighs like 123 pounds, and I dumped out 3 more bags, which is like 15-ish pounds or something like that. And me and my brother got to placing them. And this was the most amount of bands I've ever placed, so we took a break and took it out to the snow. And I made a snowball, then threw it at it, and then rolled it around in the snow, rolled it over this hill, and then picked it up and dropped it. Then the next day I got back to placing, which was a huge pile that took me a long time to place, but I got it. And the ball was a bit deformed afterwards, but it's okay. It weighs like 139 pounds now, and just look at it next to my head. Like if you want me to keep on going. Part 2 of my Saran wrap treehouse. So I was almost done, and I just kept on going for quite a while, non-stop. And I was leaving the middle undone so I could get on it, but I just had this tiny section to do, and I finished. And then I was ready to go inside the epic treehouse and test it out. I got on, and at first I thought the plastic was going to break, but when I spread myself out, I was chilling. And it was a pretty cool treehouse. Here it is from above, and it's a pretty sturdy thing. And when it's raining, you can just go under it like this. It even holds water. Look. And then it started to thunder. The full video is on my YouTube, by the way, Ayres. So I'm now all the way to part 36 of this giant rubber band ball. And let me know if you want to stop, but for now I'm going to keep going. So I got this new pack, and placed that entire pile on the ball, which was pretty exhausting. So I took a break, then came back later with all these colored rubber bands that I dumped into a pile and placed on the rubber band ball. And I was done. And it might have broke the scale because it reads 102 and 103. So, I don't know. Then I took it downstairs, struggling. I rolled it off into the yard and into the road. And just look at this ball in comparison to my head. It's massive. And it's getting pretty hard to lift and throw. And like, if you want me to keep going or just cut it in half. So one day someone commented to run over my brother with this giant hamster ball, but I'm actually going to let him run me over. First I messed around in it, then got out and jumped on it. And I was trying to jump over it, but I just fell backwards and broke this bush. And then I laid down for my brother to run me over. He ran me over and it wasn't that bad, so I rolled over and let him run me over again. And again. And then I told him to do it a lot faster, and he did. And then I told him to go even faster, and this is from my point of view. It was pretty cool to watch. Boo. And then I got in a different position to see if he could make it over me like that, and eventually he did. And here's my angle. Ooh. And then I got out the giant rubber band ball and put it in the ball because someone else commented to do that. And it weighed over 100 pounds and started rolling out and then just fell out. Comment what else I should try with the giant hamster ball. So one day I ordered my own bubble solution to make bubbles and test if that TikTok I saw where the bubbles freeze in the freezing cold really worked. I made the bubbles as big as possible and I tracked the first one outside and it went off for a little bit and then we lost it. So then I just caught this next one and let it freeze on the stick. And it did, and then fell off. It was pretty cool. And so I blew another one and caught it, and then it popped. So I blew another one, caught that one, and then time-lapsed it to freezing. Look at it. And then it fell off. Here's it in the slow-mo. And then I did that hot water thing just for fun. So one day it was rubber band ball part 68, and the rubber band ball is now almost 700 pounds, but today we're going to get it there. And somebody in the last video commented to get colored rubber bands, so I got these black rubber bands so you can see them placed on the ball. And the cool thing about 2 different colors is you can see them all going onto the ball. And it took us quite a while, but eventually we got it done. And the ball looks really cool now. It looks kind of 3-dimensional. Look at it. The black bands are more sleek than the other ones. And the ball is so massive. Look at it in comparison to my head. Then I zeroed out the scale and put it back on, and it weighed 706 pounds. So, like, if I should keep on adding bands. So one day I saw that I left my giant hamster ball out in the leaves for months, so I got a leaf blower, blew all the leaves out, and saw that there was still a bunch of Orbeez, so I cleaned all the Orbeez out, put them in the dumpster. And I also had to hurry because there was a storm coming. I rinsed off the hamster ball, and then decided to try to get in it with these hover shoes. I got in, and then my brother zipped me up and aired me on up. But I had to stop and get out because it got too dark and stormy. But the next day was super sunny, so I got in and tried again. It aired up, and then I put my hood on because it was kind of grimy and went off. I got on the hover shoes, spun around, walked around, and fell. Then I drove a little bit more, went off into the grass, then decided to get out and throw the hamster ball away because it was really grimy. But here's the good news. If this video gets 1.5 million likes, I'll buy a new, bigger, better $800 hamster ball. So I'm now to part 31 of making this giant rubber band ball, and I got another package. I dumped out this pack of pretty big rubber bands and placed the entire pile. And then, like I did last time, got a bunch of these colored garbage bag rubber bands and placed them all. And these ones placed pretty good. I finished and the ball now weighs 81 pounds. I took it downstairs and out to the cul-de-sac where I compared it to my head and then got up and tried to throw it. And then I tried to throw it behind me. And then stood on it. And even tried to ramp it, but just broke the ramp. So, like, if you want me to keep going, and comment any ideas you have for it. So one day someone commented telling me to take my giant 580-pound rubber band ball back to the pawn shop like old days. But it's too big, so I'm going to take all this random stuff in this little rubber band ball bag.
What happened to it? Did you put it in water?
And I told him it was a different ball, then showed him a picture of the big one.
Gosh, how big is that now?
I said 580, and then he said I should just put it on eBay. And then I moved on and asked him what he'd give me for this thing.
About $50 in rubber bands, $30.
And I couldn't sell it for that, so I had to move on to this ball.
Super high. Wow, yeah, that's cool. Did you get this at like Chuck E. Cheese?
And then I told him the price.
$16. I paid 8 for it, so I wanted to double my money.
Oh,
Yeah, we didn't end up making a deal on the ball either, so I moved on to this tiny rubber band gun. and I threw him a highball number.
$200.
He gave me a weird look, so then I just moved on to the last item.
Magic, basically.
I said it was super rare water repellent spray, and I wanted a lot of money for it, but he didn't budge, so then he tried to sell me some stuff, including these cool shades. So I'm now at a rubber band ball part 61, and the ball is over 500 pounds, but I guess everyone wants me to keep on going. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. My friend Brendan and I, we placed bands for a while, then left and came back the next day to place again, and this happened. A band broke and made him launch backwards. So I had to help him back up, and then we got back to placing. And I think this is Brendan's last time placing the rubber bands on the ball. But after way too long, we were done. And the ball is huge, and the bands are way too tight. Just look at me standing on it and then trying to bounce stuff on it. And I finally rolled it back on the scale and weighed it in at 541 pounds. So, like, if you want me to keep on going. So one day I saw a TikTok where they tested flex tape, and I wanted to test it out for myself. So I got a jug of water, filled it up. I cut a square of flex tape out and then stabbed this thing, which took quite a while, but eventually I got a hole in it. And then I slapped the flex tape on. And it worked pretty well. There was a small leak, but a little bit of rubbing and you got it out. And next I decided to test a 50-pound weight. I put the flex tape on and it couldn't get it. So I decided to move to 45 pounds and it got it up and held there for quite a while. This is some strong stuff. So one day after filling my storm shelter entirely up with ball pit balls, we cleaned it up because someone commented to turn it into a cool fort. So I went to Walmart and got a beanbag, some MRE ice cream and egg, and a thing of water to make it kind of survivally. And a bin and a desk. And then I took it all to the storm shelter and started putting it together. Put the beanbag in, then the desk, which made me laugh for some reason, and then I hung up these lights. Pretty cool. Next I got the MREs in a bin, set it on the desk, and then filled the water jug up. And the fort was pretty much done to me. Let me know what else you think I should add. Oh, and I also tried one of the MRE ice cream sandwiches. It was pretty good. So one day I went to Walmart and got a bunch of cardboard to make one of those cardboard tunnel slides on my stairs like I've seen before, and tape, and then left, went home and started building it. I taped the first box down at the top and was adding glow sticks all along on the way down. I then taped the second box to the top one and repeated this process for a long time until eventually I was done. The slide was looking pretty cool. I threw some pillows down to break my fall and went down it. And the first one was kind of anticlimactic, but my brother went down pretty fast and almost hurt himself. And on his next go, he basically destroyed the slide. So I had to remove this piece and put down a new flooring that made it actually faster. Here's a POV of me sliding down. And here's my final go. So one day I ordered this $170 water gun that I saw on David Dobrik's TikTok. It was pretty cool looking and I was pretty excited to test it out. I put it in my hot tub and filled it on up all the way to 100, and then I shot it and I was shocked. I shot the gutter and it was amazing. Then I kind of went crazy shooting the window, almost the camera, then the pipe again, just shooting at the air and then at the ground and then in the hot tub. And then I did a cool 360 off the hot tub and the gun was kind of making me feel like a kid. I shot this target and then got in the tree and shot at my brother. Then I let him shoot me point blank and just look at this slow-mo. And then I shot him. And then he chased me. But then I decided to go on a mission to shoot my friend Austin. I drove over to him, had the gun ready, and snuck up on him, and shot.
Ow, bro, what are you doing? Bro!
And he tried to shoot me while I ran off in the sunset. So one day I got a bunch of bubble wrap and ramen noodles to make 2 separate boats for my Will It Boat series. I started with the bubble wrap and taped these 3 things together with a little bit of cardboard and went off on the creek. It was hard to balance on, but it floated at first. And I floated for a while until eventually water started to seep in and I had to get off and drag it to shore. Then I threw a rock and the next day got started on this ramen noodle boat. And the plan was to keep all the ramen in the boxes because I didn't want any of the noodles to get in the water. But I finished the boat and took it out to the creek and it floated pretty decently, but when I got on it, it started to sink. And it stayed afloat, but not with me. Maybe a squirrel. So one day I got a comment saying I should drop my 110-pound rubber band ball on my Saran wrap fort. But it's really heavy, so I got a tarp, tied it up with paracord, and then tried to lift it with a pulley system. And we ended up having to use a truck to get it up because it's too heavy. But we put it on the wrong branch and couldn't get it up from there, so we put it on a different one. Still couldn't get it up from there. But on the third time we got it, and I pulled it onto the fort and cut it open, and it was on there. It made it sag a lot, but I moved it over to here and then threw it off. What else should I try? So I'm now at part 37 of this giant rubber band ball. And it's getting pretty giant, but everyone still wants it to be bigger. So I ordered more rubber bands, dumped them into a pile, and started placing. And then this happened because it's getting hard to place them. But I kept on going, finishing the pile, and then I took a break and went outside to play with the ball in the snow. And there wasn't much snow, but I made as big a snowball as I could, set it on the rubber band ball, and then crushed it. And then I came back to place another pile. I dumped it out, and then I placed it a little bit differently this time. I just threw all the bands on the ball. Bam. Magic. And the ball actually broke the scale, and the scale won't read anymore, so I don't know how much it weighs. But I took it out of the cold sack, and it's just pretty heavy. So, if you want me to keep on going. So one day I got this giant hamster ball, and the next day it was raining, so I decided to get in it in this air-up dinosaur suit. But first I got it in normally just to test out the rain with more mobility. I ran through this puddle twice, and then rolled around a little bit, ran a little bit, and rolled a little bit more. And then got in the dinosaur suit and got in. And it was a struggle because I couldn't really see where I was going. So I only moved around a little bit and then got out and almost hit my head. But I got out and then ran off and jumped in the air. Let me know what else I should try. So one day I decided to turn my giant 110-pound rubber band ball into a wrecking ball using my backyard Zipline. But first I pushed it onto the storm shelter and ran it off. And then started tying it up. I put it on a ladder and got it hooked to the Zipline. And then I tested it out. And it was pretty cool looking. And now it was time to wreck some stuff, starting with this broken piece of furniture. And then I turned it to its side. And it absolutely destroyed it. The drawer was broken and I thought it was good for one more hit. And it was obliterated. And then I decided to do this trash can. Yeah, let me know what else I should destroy. So one day I decided to test some water repellent spray on some stuff, including my giant rubber band ball, which I guess is already kind of water repellent, and these shoes to walk on water, this shirt, this glove, this lampshade, and this towel, these glasses, and my name. Then I came back after 24 hours to test it. The glove didn't work, and the lampshade, the water bounced right off the side that was sprayed, and not the side that wasn't. And then the shirt kind of worked. If you get really up close, you can see the water beating off of some of it. Right there. Then these glasses that didn't really do much, and this towel that actually kind of worked way better on the side that was sprayed than the non. And it made the water just sit on the surface of the rubber band ball and just run off. Then I looked at the wet concrete and my name was really there, but then I tested the shoes and it didn't work. I'm now to rubber band ball part 60, and we started off trying to do backflips but failed, so then we weighed it in at 496 pounds. And I used a lot of rubber bands to build this giant rubber band trampoline, but I had enough left over to get it over 500 pounds. We took a little break and then came back and we finished off the entire pile, and it was done. The bands are now getting really tight in the ball, and look at its size comparison next to a tire. And then I tried to crush this watermelon but missed and crushed the pool instead. Tried to get it out, a lot of water came out and it wouldn't crush the watermelon, so then I just took it inside, fell on it, and weighed it at 515 pounds. So like if I should take it to 1,000 pounds. So one day I went to one of those warehouses that has overstocked Amazon pallets you can buy, and I bought this one for $500 to see what was in it, like a cool mystery box. I opened it up at my warehouse and there was these pillows, a sleeping bag, a fan, a dog bed, and this automatic dog food feeder. And this thing that we didn't know what it was, but it actually ended up being a sword. And at this point, I was already happy with my purchase. Next was some camping stuff, a Christmas tree, a trash can, a nice microwave, a not-so-nice microwave, a bottle of water, a Serta rolly chair, this thing, and this outdoor bench. And we added everything up to be worth over $1,000. Then we tested out the sword and first used the wrong side, but then destroyed a can. And comment down below if I should try to sell all this stuff or just use it. So I'm now to rubber band ball part 67, and we actually made a couple more tiny rubber band balls. Here they are on a mini trampoline. And the big one was too big for it, so we just put it on the scale and weighed it in at 655 pounds. And now it's time to make it bigger. I dumped out a whole nother pile. Then my friend and I got to placing bands for a really long time. And the bigger this ball gets, the harder it is for it to look bigger. So we got to add a lot of bands every time. And we finished up the pile, and then I wanted to test if it would go through a doorway, and it wouldn't. It's too big now. And I failed trying to get it back on the scale, so we had to both push it on the scale and weigh it in at 679 pounds. So, like, if you want me to keep on going. One day I ordered a bunch of giant Legos to build a brick wall and run into it. So we built the brick wall, and then I got on the scooter and ran into it and completely nailed my nose and made it bleed a little bit. Yeah, it really hurt. So then we put it back together and took the rubber band ball to it. And after that, I ordered even more Legos because I was like, I need to make the wall even bigger. And then I tried to jump over it, which was kind of a fail. So let me know what else I should do or if I should buy more. So one day someone commented to put Flex Seal and then rubber bands on the egg. So I'm going to do that and also launch it in my giant slingshot. But first I Flex Sealed it and then came back and gave it another coat. And after that, I left and came back the next day and gave it another coat. When it was dry, it looked like this. Then I gave it one last coat, and it was ready. And it was still kind of wet, but I placed a bunch of bands on it, and it looked like this. Then I placed a bunch more bands on it, and it looked like that. Then I got on another pile, placed it on, and it looked like that. Then I got out these big ones, and it looked like that. Then I put it in the slingshot, pulled back, and launched. And it hit the ground pretty hard. I ran to check if the egg was okay, and it was leaking. It wasn't. So one day I decided to turn this warehouse into a cool video spot. But first I had to clean the place up, so I started by power washing the entire warehouse. And I actually power washed a few more times off camera, but this is the one I filmed the entire thing of. I washed the entire floor, and then put some of this acid down, scraped some of this stuff up, and it looked like this. Then it was time to paint. Bam. It looked really good painted and was almost done, but I got this bean bag, this hoop, this trampoline that I did a flip on, and then I shot the hoop. Did a dunk thing, and there's also this loft thing, but comment any video ideas you have for me. So I'm now all the way to part 65 of my giant rubber band ball, and here's a little rubber band ball being thrown on it, and then me pushing it to the scale to weigh it in at 607 pounds. Then we threw down another pile to keep on placing and make it even bigger, and people ask me all the time what my goal is for this ball, and I don't even know. I'm just going to try to get it as big as possible. And it always takes way longer than it looks to place all these bands, but eventually we got it done. I tried to push it with my hoverboard, and kind of worked. Then we put it back on the scale, and it was like 30 pounds off, so it actually weighs like 634 pounds. So, like, if you want me to keep on going. So after destroying our microwave microwave with my 100-pound rubber band ball, someone left a comment saying to do a phone. But first, I'm going to do this broken TV my neighbor gave me. I put the ball on there and threw it. And it didn't do very much damage, so I just threw it again. And it mainly just bounces on it, so I stepped on it a bunch and then got out a giant snowball that was left over. And that was pretty cool and left me with a snowball. And then I got out the phone. I set it down, then threw the ball on it, but it missed, so I threw it again and it cracked it. Look at it. I'm just kidding, this is a fake phone. It's actually smashed now. This is part 4 of this aluminum foil / rubber band ball. And I started by adding more bands to it to see if it would bounce any better. I dropped it and it didn't. So I threw it up in the air and it still didn't. So then I went inside to add more aluminum foil to it. And I tried to make it more round by using a different technique of wrapping it around in circles and then patting it down. And I repeated this until the aluminum foil was all gone. I then patted the ball down as much as I could and then hit it a little bit with the mallet. And it's a decent size at 12.6 pounds. Here's it next to the rubber band ball, and here's the rubber band ball on top of it, and then off. Then I threw it up in the air and it left a little dent. Like if you want me to keep adding to it, or let me know what I should do. So one day I ordered this giant bubble dome thing because I saw it on the internet and thought it looked cool and had to buy it. I got it all the way aired up and it was pretty cool looking. I opened it up, went inside, and it kind of felt like one big quarantine chamber. I was completely separated from the outside world. Here it is inside, and then I got bored and decided to put my giant rubber band ball in it. I put that in a beanbag and then chilled. So comment any cool ideas you have for this thing and I'll do them. So one day someone commented for me to add rubber bands to my aluminum foil ball, and I thought that was an interesting idea, so I'm going to try it. But first I got to fill in these gaps with aluminum foil. I had the bands in a pile and then began filling in the gaps with aluminum foil and hammering it down until it was all good. And then I began placing these leftover rubber bands from the rubber band ball series, the colored ones and these ones. And the ball looked good enough for now. Here's it next to me, and here's me throwing it. And then me throwing the rubber band ball. Let me know if you want me to continue adding bands or foil or what, and like. So I'm now all the way to part 34 of this giant rubber band ball. And it's getting kind of redundant, but I'm going to try to keep it interesting. I ordered these bands, placed them on, Then I got the other pile, which is these colored rubber bands that I actually have to untie first and then place them on the ball. And after placing this entire pile, it now weighs almost 95 pounds. I struggled to make it out to the cul-de-sac. And it's so heavy it even picked up grass. Then I picked it up and threw it, and look at it in freeze frame. Look how big it is. It's so big, there's really not much you can even do with it. Here's it next to a basketball. Here's it crushing one and then falling off, and then me trying to stand on it but failing and crushing the basketball goal. So like if I should keep on going or comment what I should do. So I'm now all the way to part 33 of this giant rubber band ball, which is insane. And I got another box. I placed this entire pile of rubber bands, which wasn't that bad, and then dumped out all these colored garbage bag rubber bands. I had them in a nice pile and then placed them all one by one until I was out. And it now weighs over 90 pounds. I took it out to the cul-de-sac and tried the best I could to pick it up and throw it. And then I stood on it, and this time I actually didn't fall off it. I jumped, and here it is next to my head, and here it is rolling. Like if you want me to keep on going. So one day someone commented for me to tie 4 bottles of Diet Coke and Mentos together and then throw it. So I got Diet Coke, Mentos, and tape, and I was going to tie these 4 bottles together. I got the tape out, wrapped it all the way around, then put the Mentos in, one by one, and all the bottles, 3 each, then took it out to the cul-de-sac and threw it. And it did nothing. So I threw it again, and it did that. It was kind of a fail, but I just threw 2 bottles separate, and it did that, which was kind of cool. And then I wrapped 2 bottles together, thinking maybe that would work better, and it did a little bit, but not really. So then I threw another one, and yeah. So after failing to destroy this snowman with my water gun and giant rubber band ball, someone commented to fill the super powerful water gun up with boiling water and then shoot it. But first I had to make another head because the other one was broken. I made it, put it on, and he was ready. I let some water boil, put the gun in, and it reacted like this. So don't try this at home because it almost burnt me. So I just filled it up with hot tub water and then went out and shot it a bunch of times. Until eventually the snowman looked like this. But that wasn't enough, so I got a bow and arrow out and shot it with a few arrows and then beat its head in. But the body is still rock solid. Let me know what else I should try. So one day someone commented on my video with this giant dome thing and told me to put ball pit balls in it. So I put the whole ball pit in it. And it took a pretty long time having to air it up and move all the balls in. And then I had to move them from this thing to this thing until eventually they were all in the one big circle. And it looked really cool. I fell in it, then looked around, and then ran around, and then fell again. Threw some balls at the camera, tried to run. And it wasn't that deep because it was so big, but let me know what else I should do with this thing. So it's another week and I'm on to rubber band ball part 58 and I weighed it in at 446 pounds and then I had to keep on adding more. I dumped out a whole nother box of bands and got to work. And I kept on placing for about an eternity and ran through multiple pairs of gloves, but eventually we made it. This thing is now so big, the camera just doesn't justify how big it is. I was going to do a backflip, but ended up just doing that. And then I rolled it over the trampoline, fell off of it. Here's just a quick size comparison next to a ball pit ball. Then I put it on the scale, zeroed it out, and it weighed in at 472 pounds. So like this video if you want me to continue building it.